Okay, this is podcast number 75 or 100 or something like that, right? Okay, so here's a podcast I've always wanted to do, or a YouTube show, whatever you call us. I've always wanted to do, and I'm thrilled because we've got my friend Andrew and my niece Katie here. But here's the thing. Years ago, an old friend of mine named John was adopted. And when he was 25 years old, he made the decision to meet his biological mom. He did not tell his adoptive or his parents about this. He met her, he liked her, they started getting together for coffee once in a while. Then his parents found out about it, and they were so jealous and upset that they disowned him. I spoke with him a year ago. He was 60. They still hadn't talked to him since 25 years old. So ever since then, I've always wondered, like, is it cool to do that?
Right.
Like, how does that work?
Right.
So I've always wanted to chat with some people, and now we have people. We have Andrew and Katie. So with that in mind, I want to talk today about some basic topics, which are, should adoptive kids meet their birth parents, right? How would their parents feel about that? How do you find them? And you got some info on that, right, Brandy?
Yep.
Okay. And then if you find them, how do you approach them? And do you bring your parents with you? How does that whole thing work? So to get started, we got Andrew here, and I just want to get a quick background on you, Andrew. Like, give us a minute. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Andrew Desetsky. I grew up in Orchard Park, New York. I currently live in Cheektowaga. I am currently working as a senior ops coordinator for Moog, which is located in East Aurora, New York. And
you have parents?
Yes.
Are they both alive?
Yes, they are.
Do they live in OP still?
They are currently in East Aurora now.
Oh, they're in East Aurora, okay. And you are also a swimmer.
Yes, I am.
Right? You're a great swimmer. And I know that because I've watched you swim by me as if I'm treading water many times.
You're making progress, Tom.
I'm making progress, but nowhere near Andrew. And Brandy, of course, because Brandy's our coach, right? We got it, and Katie swims with us, or at least you were swimming with us, and you will again. You will again. Yes. I know. You just said it, right? That's your baby's in the other room right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrew, you work at Moog. You went to Orchard Park High School.
Yes, I did.
All right. You seem like you're a well-adjusted guy, right?
I would like to assume so.
I bet you have a great girlfriend, Jess.
Yeah,
who we met.
she's been awesome.
And I don't think you're great, right?
Oh,
So
thank you
you're
very
like
much.
a great guy, right? And you're adopted. So tell us your adoption story. Like, how'd that happen?
So I was pretty much adopted at birth. I was born on January 4th, and I was brought into the United States May 4th, 1994. And
February, March, April, May. So 4 months,
4 months
old
in.
when you got to the U.S.
Yes.
From where?
South Korea.
South Korea, okay. Did your parents go there? to get
No.
you?
So here's a fun, interesting fact. A lot of the 80s and 90s, South Korea is one of the few countries that sent the child to the country that they were going to, whereas a lot of other countries in adoption today have the parents come to the country, pick up the child, and then go back to their home country afterwards.
They sent you with a chaperone?
Yes.
Oh,
So you get basically, and Katie and I were talking about briefly, you get enough weight on your body to be able to get put on an airplane, and then they send you with a worker from the agency to hand off the child, obviously for safety reasons, I would assume.
Right, yeah.
And so,
Where did you fly to?
New York.
So did you, Katie?
Yeah.
In fact, do they do a thing where they let your parents know like 2 days before or something like that, or was it planned out?
I would assume that would have been a scheduled event,
Yeah.
whereas, just good communication, just, hey, you're nearing this weight that is necessary.
Right, yeah.
Be prepared. We're gonna when they schedule the flight, I would assume that they go
Right,
into
right,
it.
right.
I would.
But you were a baby. You were only 4 months old.
and then wait, one more question.
Yeah.
Do you meet at the airport, or do they bring you to your house, or how does that whole
They meet
handoff?
at the airport.
They
Yeah,
meet
like
at the airport.
Mike and Mary went to the airport for you, Kate. I remember that.
So there are actually photos of my parents picking me up at the time
Cool.
in the airport.
And then the chaperone goes home, or they
Yeah,
stay for a little
I
bit?
think they just leave.
That's it.
Yeah, they're done. They just did their
Wow.
job, jump on the red eye back, right? So wait, so Andrew, do you have siblings?
Yes, I do.
And are they biological to your parents or adopted?
I have 3 siblings that are biological to my parents. The 2 oldest are my dad's, and
From a previous relationship.
yes,
Okay.
and the older sister is my mother's. And
Okay.
then after they adopted me, they adopted the youngest 2 years later.
Okay, and where was that adoption from?
Also from South Korea.
Oh, it was, okay. It clearly went well.
Yes,
Right, with you,
they
right?
liked the experience.
Right. Okay, so Katie, I know you very well, of course, because you're my niece. So I've known you longer than you've known you. Because I've known you right from the beginning. And you were just, your head's barely staying up. You didn't really know what was going on.
No.
Although you were like 8 months, I
I was
think,
6
when you got here.
months,
6
so-
months. Yeah, I thought it was a little more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are you, Katie, other than my niece?
So I'm Katie Polson. I'm also from South Korea. I came to the U.S. at 6 months. I think I matched with my parents, so.
Before we get to your adoptive you, I want to know about the
okay.
you, because you are a nurse
Yes,
practitioner,
I'm a psychiatric.
and you're killing it in this world.
I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I have a master's. I'm in school for my doctorate.
You're married
I am
to a
married.
great guy, Brian.
Right, we met in
You got a
nursing
baby
school.
that's sitting right
That's the
in
most
there with my
important.
daughter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm kind of newly postpartum, so she's almost 12 weeks.
And what's her name?
Vanessa.
Vanessa, awesome name. Okay, and you are the daughter of Mike, my brother,
Yes.
and Mary, my sister-in-law, right?
Yes.
All right, so you came from South Korea as well. I remember when Mike and Mary flew to New York City to meet you for the first time. And do you have siblings?
Yes.
I mean, I know you do, but tell the
Yes.
world,
I have 3.
tell our million viewers how many you have.
Right, exactly. I have 3. I have 2 older, my brother's oldest, and
Phil.
and then Christine.
And she's getting married soon.
Yes. And so they're both biological to my parents, and then my brother Kevon, who came into our lives pretty recently. He's 6
Actually, not that recently. It's been like 6 years or 7 years.
Oh gosh.
Because he was like 14,
Yeah, he's 14.
and he's like 20 now, isn't
he's
he?
21.
21.
I think
7
I'm younger.
years.
I think I'm younger than I am. It's not saying that he's.
No, I know. No, it seems like it's recent to
Right.
me too.
That's why I feel like yeah, I guess. But he was 14. I think it was when Brian and I started dating. Yeah. So he's the youngest. But we grew up, me and my brother and my sister.
Okay, so Andrew,
Mhm.
I want to ask you this first. How do you feel in connection with these are really, I guess, if you were all biological, you consider them half siblings, the 2 that with your dad, the one with your mom, because there's a different mom and a different dad, right? So in other words, your 2 older brothers are from a different mom,
Yes.
right? Because your dad was married previously.
Yes.
And your older sister is has a different dad.
Yes.
Right, so if you were in the biological universe of this, they would be half siblings,
Yes,
right?
it would be.
But you've been with them for a long time, so
Oh, yeah.
you consider them like normal siblings.
Yeah, of course.
But how much older are they than you?
So the oldest is 14 years older, then it goes 9 years, and then 7 years.
Yeah, so the bigger differentiation, it seems, is not that you're adopted and they're not. It's that one's 14 years older than you,
Mhm.
right? Like that's probably the bigger divide between you,
Oh, of course.
right? Yeah.
And I know growing up as well, my brothers lived with their mother for the majority of time.
Gotcha.
But I did see my older sister a lot more often because her father also lived in Orchard Park.
Oh,
So-
right. Yeah. And Katie, I know that you've been with the family since the beginning. So you guys, I've always known you guys to fight just like every other sibling. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my first question, I want to go back and forth with you guys.
Mhm.
Do you want to meet your biological parents? And maybe you already have. I don't know.
I have not met them yet. I'm definitely curious. I've entertained the idea. I would definitely be interested in doing so.
What about you, Katie? Have you?
No, so I tried.
You did try?
I did try, yeah. I was pretty interested when I was younger.
How old
What?
were you?
When I wanted
When you
to
you
meet
got
them?
really interested in this.
Pretty young, like 6th grade.
Oh, 6th grade. Wow.
Yeah, I cared a lot more then than I do now, funnily enough.
Right. Yeah, that is funny,
Well,
right?
when you're young, your world is so small, so.
Right.
Trying to
But
figure out
what
who
about
you are in
Andrew?
this world.
Did you feel when you were younger like you wanted to meet them, or is it just kind of an adult onset thing?
It became more of a interest as I got older, actually. I know that my parents offered those options to me growing up, or just having like Korean introduced to me, as a culture.
Right.
I remember being asked if I wanted to learn the language. Do you want to get tutors? We can go to UB, ask someone. And I told them no.
It sounds like
did that.
But you have great parents, though, it sounds like.
Did he really?
Yeah.
No, I know. Mike went to Korea with you, right?
Well, he did, but he also found a Korean professor at UB.
Yeah, right.
She didn't teach Korean. And he was like, can I give you money to teach my daughter Korean?
Right,
So that's exactly what my parents
So
did.
why do you want to meet why are you interested in meeting your biological mom or dad?
I just kind of like to talk with them. It's no like deep rooted need to have to know them. I'm just genuinely curious. I'd like to just get to know them briefly.
Okay,
if
so
they're
tell us
interested.
about that. How does that play itself out? You meet them. Let's say they're here. Let's say that I secretly invited them and they're in the other room. Which, by the way, is not the case. Just don't get everybody excited. That's not the case. But what if you got to meet them? What would you want to talk about? How would you feel, do you think?
I'd just like to ask, what they thought during the time. I'd like to express my gratitude for the choice that they made, because I'm very thankful for the opportunity that was given to me by being adopted into the United States and being raised by the people that have raised me my entire life.
Yeah.
And really just kind of getting to know them, not in a way that surpasses what my parents have done for me. It's more of, like I mentioned, a curiosity. It's
right.
I'd like just to know who you are, how you've been, and even,
what do you do?
Yeah.
Right?
What
Do you have
you're
other
doing in
siblings?
life, and I know medical history is a big thing for me too.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
I would like to know that. But at the current moment, only my birth mother is recorded, so I'd have to also ask her for the name of my birth father.
Wait, what do you mean she's recorded?
So at the hospital, prior to me being born, they were gathering information about the birth, the pregnancy, the birth father, as that progressed, and she was recorded as saying that she did not want to offer the birth father's name. They
Gotcha.
dated for a brief amount of time,
But she's recorded.
Yes.
And no, Katie, you said that when you were a kid in 6th grade, you were curious about meeting your birth parents, and I'm sure knowing my brother Mike, he probably went all in to help you do that. Or didn't he? I don't know.
I don't know. They were opposed to the idea. I don't really know how they felt, in all honesty.
But you were a kid.
Yeah, they didn't. I wouldn't say they went all
Yeah.
in.
Okay, so they didn't. Okay.
And I was young, so they probably didn't know how serious I was about it.
Well, and there's a lot of opportunity for things to maybe not work out exactly as you have it
Of
planned.
course.
So, yeah,
Especially for 6th grade, right?
Yeah.
And I can see why Mike and Mary would have said, okay, let's pause and wait.
Yep.
And let's get to.
I was going through a lot. The reason I even wanted, I wasn't happy at the time. I was being bullied. That's why I wanted to. So
Yeah.
that's a bigger problem than
Yeah.
that. I would say. So.
But now today, you're just not interested at this
Well, I
point.
tried.
Oh, you did?
So, yeah, I did try. I went to Korea. I've been to Korea a couple of times.
But when you went to Korea, did you start knocking on doors, or
So I went to the agency that I was adopted through Eastern Child Welfare, and
when you were in 6th grade?
no, I went when I was 17.
Oh, okay.
But that's when my parents let me go, and they came with me for part of it too. I went with a group of people that some of them were adopted as well, and that's kind of what they do. So I met when I was young, probably quite young, I don't know, 13, 14. I think I did email Eastern Child Welfare and just asked, what the process is, how I could do it. I looked into a lot of Facebook groups have Korean adoptees, so people share their stories on how they found out what they could. And so I was really young, but I emailed them, and I looked into getting my records translated from Korean to English because I thought they probably left something out, And at the time, I think they just got stonewalled. They were like, we can't really help you. And even when I went to Korea and I was at the agency, they said that a lot of mothers used fake names
I think I remember Mike told me that.
So they were like, you can't find her. Now, a lot of people say, why would the agency want to find your birth? That's a lot of money. They would just be, why would they do that? You know.
Why would they do that?
Why would
How
they
does it
care?
help them? Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
You know, so maybe they don't try that hard to connect anybody. Because I don't know, how would you go to last name? Fake name, have a baby. But whatever. So they were like, she used a fake name because that completely eliminates any chance you could ever find them. Right.
Right.
So people say the agency just kind of says that to you. Now, I don't know.
But what if it were today, though? What if it were today?
And
How
then,
would, yeah.
well, like 2 years later, then I emailed them again, and I was like, can you just tell me medical records? You know, because did everybody in my family die at 50? You know, I'd like to know. And then they said, actually, your birth mother passed away about 6 months ago. And I said,
Well, which is odd because
But
they
you
couldn't
didn't
find
I
her
mean,
before,
You
right?
told me that it was a little different. And I said, well, can you give me her name and her gravesite? I'd like to visit her. And they were like, no.
But did they tell you what she died of?
No.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So again, I was pretty devastated at the time because I was like, I did the search 3 years ago, she would have been alive. I did the search 7 years ago, she would have still been alive.
Right.
So kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I was really, really upset at the time. And I was still pretty young. But I don't know how true that is because then I've heard from other adoptees that that's another thing that they're dead because again eliminates any possibility of any sort of reunion.
And they don't have to deal with it.
And they don't have to deal with it, right? So
But what about your parents, though? Mike and Mary, how do you think they'd feel if your biological mom were alive today and you wanted to get to know her and build a relationship?
I think they feel differently now than if I was that young.
A child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably more open to it today. Yeah. What about your parents? Oh, go ahead, Brandy.
In the U.S., I have a friend that was adopted here, and the records are sealed for a certain number of years. Is that not the same in South Korea? Like, there's not a point where they become
I'm
public
actually not
records
certain
read?
of that.
I think, like we had talked about briefly before, there's so many children were
Yeah.
adopted at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It was very commonplace, and so they would have been paper records. They would have been, I don't think they were.
Yeah, you said there was like 200,000 adoptions from South Korea since 1970.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between like 1970 and 2000. So
Yeah,
30 years.
and computers in 1970 weren't quite as good as they are today.
Well, and I found it really interesting what we were talking about earlier. Maybe you could share that too, about why that happened during that period of time.
So South Korea, right after the war, they, very, very poor country, and just traditionally, even now, they're not very supportive of single mothers. All babies have to be like registered with like your family name, and a lot of people don't want to register. And you have to put down like 2 parents and everything too. So the country's not supportive of single mothers or even just children out of wedlock. So that culture leads to more adoptions.
Interesting.
So, Andrew, how do your parents feel about that?
They've always been pretty supportive with whatever choice I wanted to make. They had no, or at least no visible feelings to it one way or the other. They support my choice now of just being curious and wanting baseline information. Medical record would be number one.
But what about getting to know them? Because, that friend of mine, although that was different because that was a U.S. adoption, and the woman lived in their town, and he got to know the woman, and, I think the mother and father felt very resentful, at least that's what he told me, because they had raised him, invested all their energy and love in him, and they felt cheated on a bit. Like, after all that, you're now going to become friends with your biological mom, And I don't know, and your mom is in Korea, and, your biological mom, not your mom, and yours are in Korea, so it'd probably be a different situation because it's not like you're going to get together for coffee with them every week, right?
And we don't speak Korean.
Yes, that.
Oh,
Yes,
is that
right,
that's
right.
a big one too.
That's probably the biggest.
Yeah, you're right. You can't even really have
No.
phone conversations,
No,
right?
not without a
And,
translator.
Yeah.
I would assume probably, like you're an American, I've been to Korea several times, and you probably noticed the same thing if you went to Korea. I stand out, stick out like a sore thumb. Like I studied abroad in Korea, and they just knew.
Really?
They just knew I was American.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up too. It's also very obvious to children that were born
Yes.
in Asian households.
Yes.
They know that you weren't raised in an Asian household. When I was in college, there are, Asian fraternities and stuff like that, and I had friends on the swim team that were Asian, and I'd just be walking with them coincidentally, and then they talk to some of these groups. Those groups just ignored me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, so you'd be walking with them.
Yes,
They would stop to talk to the Asian
others.
American group, and they treat you like you're an American.
I was
'Cause you
off
are
to
American,
the
right?
side, yes.
How does that make you feel?
So I care a lot about this
Yeah.
topic, and I work in mental health and
Yeah.
interracial adoption. There's a lot of different aspects to Korean adoptees, and just there's an interracial component to it. Growing up in America as a minority, but not having the same race as your parents. That leads to a lot of struggles. So when I was younger, I struggled with being Asian in a predominantly white area, and I also struggled with being adopted. And those two things kind of commingled with one another.
Wow.
And were hard to kind of separate, especially being a young girl. You want to be normal and you want to fit in, and you look different from everybody, and you can't go home and talk to your siblings about it. You can't talk to your parents about it. You can't go to Korea. So
Yeah.
You mean because your siblings wouldn't understand,
right.
your parents wouldn't want to understand, but they wouldn't, and Koreans wouldn't understand because A, you don't speak the language, and B, you're not Korean.
Yes.
Right?
So I felt very.
We're the
You're
right
like,
fit.
You're really not Korean enough.
that's what I mean.
Like any Korean would tell you, you're not Korean, and sometimes white, not white, but just sometimes,
Yeah.
other cultures would say you're not white.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so there was a
Like, where do
song
you fit?
by
Right.
Cher.
And I didn't feel like I fit it.
Do you know Cher's song?
Wow. Yeah.
Remember how she's Cher? You know what that is? Or
I
you're too
do.
young.
I do know.
She has a
shit.
song called Half Breed, where she says she's half Indian, Native American,
Yeah.
half white, and the white people called her Indian, and the Indian people called her white, so she had nowhere to fit in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
That's-
happens
that's
to
a real
everyone.
thing.
A lot of people even just get mixed race, but being adopted is a whole extra.
Right. No, Andrew, your friends would, you're coincidentally walking with some Korean kids in college, and you stop in at the Korean, bar, and they don't even look at you.
Oh, they just kind of know, there's nothing that.
They don't treat you like they're treating the others who are Korean.
Yes, or just Asian as a whole. It didn't even have to be
But
Korean.
not from the
Chinese,
US. But it's also different if you're Korean. So let's say you're born in America with Korean parents.
yes,
That's different
yes.
than being born in
That's-
America to non-Korean parents.
That's very different.
Yeah.
So what is this? Is this the way you look, the way you carry yourself, the way you
I-
present?
Yes, I think it's a cultural thing and the way you get raised.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would talk with some of my friends in college about those types of things, and
Yeah.
just even minor things like. It's funny, just the use of chopsticks is something I never grew up with.
Okay.
And I had friends that grew up in households, don't even have to look. They can pick up food, rice, pieces
Right.
in that family style
Right.
setting where the first time I ever tried to learn was the absolute worst. And for the longest time I was the person that asked for fork, spoon, whatever.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
They do a
until
double take, like, wait.
until I forced myself to learn eventually. But
Wow.
it's a
By the way,
cultural thing.
You got me thinking, when we're done with this show, I want to go get some Korean food. Okay? Or Chinese food, or something with chopsticks, okay?
Right,
You
Yeah.
know who taught me? Papa. Papa taught me how to use.
He did? I think he taught me how to use them too.
That's so cool.
In fact, when my kids were very young, because he died when my kids were very young, right?
I was pretty young. I was in second grade.
Yeah, but he got them the chopstick that you wrap with rubber bands or something,
Yeah.
so that they automatically tighten,
Yeah.
and you have to open them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. So those are not only adoption issues, but then also cultural issues because of where you're adopted from.
Yeah.
So another big adoption location was Russia in the U.S. or maybe it was the Soviets, but I think it was maybe in the 90s. It was probably Russia post-Soviet, and they are European looking, right?
Mhm.
So they don't have the same second layer of problems
Right.
because I have one close friend who adopted a daughter from Russia, and she's like you guys are totally American, right?
Mhm.
You're culturally American, but she looks like she was born here. You know what I mean? So
Well,
maybe she
everyone
doesn't have that other layer.
has their own problems. Like, I think that could be harder for someone because then sometimes parents don't even tell the child they're adopted.
Oh shit.
So everyone has their own problems. I'm not
Right.
sitting
Oh
here
yeah, no,
saying
I agree.
that mine are any worse than somebody else, but
But they're unique.
It's
They're-
unique.
Well,
yeah.
unique-ish. Because Andrew has the same situation,
Yeah.
right? In this
I
room,
guess so.
50% of the people have gone through the exact same thing that you've gone through.
I would say
So it's unique outside of this house,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then your brother, Kayvon, who's black,
Yes.
right? I mean, he's probably, although he was adopted at 14. I think he was brought in at 12.
I almost think it's very difficult, culturally contentious to be a black young male American and to have white parents. I think it's harder. I mean, I
But like you said, it's a different experience. And maybe they're not harder or easier, they're just different things you're going through. And the age probably matters. And even if you're adopted like at 6 months and 4 months,
Right.
and you don't have any cultural or racial differences, it's probably easier, right? Because you don't have the second layer of issues to deal with. Now, today, do you guys feel anything about is adoption even relevant in your life today?
I would say for me, yes. As I've talked to my girlfriend and we have just those discussions about wanting to maybe have children. in the
Is she
future.
adopted as well?
Jessica?
Yeah.
No, but her father is.
Father's adopted, okay.
We've talked about it, and I'm pretty pro adoption. I think while I have dealt with my own like side effects of it all, I tend to sway more towards what it's given me, and I'm pretty supportive of that idea of I want to be able to provide that same type of opportunity to someone else. Because
I love the way you put that, where you said, I focus on what it's given me, right? As opposed to what my hardships are, I focus on what it's given me. And that probably took years to grow into.
it definitely takes a lot of time. I think I had a slightly different view than Katie did as we were growing up. I obviously knew, my parents told me I was adopted at obviously a very young age, but I never really mentally connected that and made a very stark difference of it. Now as I got older, obviously it was very apparent with my peers and my friend groups, or just generically everyone that I was around, that I was Asian, and
Your parents.
my parents are not.
Right.
Which would surprise a lot of friend groups and their parents when they first meet my parents. Originally, surprise teachers at the same time.
You know your last name.
Yes, and that's what threw them off the most.
That's funny.
Wait,
Was
what's your last name?
Dzinski.
Dzinski. Oh, yeah.
Very classic
Polish.
Polish
Right,
last
yeah.
name for the city of Buffalo.
I think you look like someone who was born and raised in Poland.
That's that's what my girlfriend says too. Just says that all the time. And I have a side funny story that I had a chemistry teacher in high school that just didn't associate me as being Asian at all. He just looked at my last name, and we were doing like a game, like a quiz game show thing in class. There was only one other Asian kid, so we teamed up together and just had like Team Asian, fine. Just for, and this is me in high school. I was older and I accepted jokes and stuff like that a little better than I may have when I was younger. And he looked at me and was like, you're Asian? I'm like, do I not look?
Because of your last name.
Yeah, he just,
Well, your last name,
He
and
just
you're
took my
totally
name.
American.
yes,
right?
and my name is the way, I was given my name. It's all biblical names. My middle name's Michael. So,
Okay, right.
and then very common last, SKI ending last name
Right,
in,
right.
in our area. And he just didn't know. And I was like, good for you, I guess. But at the same time, I'm like, it also did the opposite thing of like, am I and excuse that if this isn't the correct term, like, my whitewashed in a sense from how I was raised in the area I grew up. And also I look at a majority of my friend group, white, and not that I have any issues with that, but it just became one of those questions.
Yeah, there's like a piece of you that doesn't get acknowledged in the
Yes.
world in that place.
But also you're going, as it is, even teenagers, even when they're not adopted and they're not multicultural, are struggling.
Right.
It's hard
Right.
enough to find your place in
There's
this
an
world.
extra layer.
It's another
to all
layer.
the
Yeah, yeah.
eggs
That's what I
Yeah.
mean.
that I felt.
But I'm sure
you're a
that-
young girl, you're a young boy.
I'm
That's
sure
why we-
Chrissy
different.
went through
Oh,
our
yeah.
Chrissy, your sister,
Well, my
was-
sister, I don't think she's last name is me.
so her own bag of stuff. And I have 3 daughters, and I know they went through their own bag of stuff. So
So I have a question though. So one of the things when I was prepping just a little bit for this today, it talked about in the US, the way that someone would go about finding or looking for their biological parents. Now, a lot of this is different for your situation, but one thing that did stick out was this idea of genetic testing. So whether it's 23andMe or Ancestry.com and doing the genetic component of that so that you could see where your family tree and those medical records that you're talking about would come from. Is that something you guys would consider? Have you ever thought about that?
So I actually have an Ancestry.com. Jessica wanted me to do it just for fun. And I told her, sure, I'd spin the tube, mail it out, and get that profile started. And so far, nothing super close in terms of relatives. I got 4th to 8th cousins everywhere,
yeah.
as I would assume would be probably pretty natural for a lot of people that do those types of things.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting on the day that at some point, because obviously I had 2 birth parents that weren't together.
Right.
So my potential towards half siblings is raised exponentially as well. Or just,
First cousins.
yeah, first cousins, aunts, uncles, something.
Yeah.
I'd like to know.
How about
So,
you, Katie?
I did 23andMe.
You did.
Yeah, someone did like a grant for Korean adoptees where you could get a free kit.
Okay.
It was
Missed
so
out.
long. I know. I found it on
I missed
Facebook. I
out.
couldn't believe it because I was like young. I maybe like 15. Like I had $200+ So I just like gave them my information and they shipped me a kit. I couldn't believe it. And it was in the time where in New York it was illegal. It still might be. You can't. So I had to mail my kit to someone in like Philadelphia and they mailed it.
Wow.
Similar. Initially, 23andMe, they said I was only like 60% Korean, but then they updated their, I don't know, and then like 3 years later, they are 99% Korean.
Oh, well, that makes you feel a little better.
I mean, but also like, I'm like, all right, guys. Well, because I mean, Korea was taken over by China and
Sure.
Japan at certain points, so I was like varying degrees of that. So I don't know. They changed their criteria, so I don't know what I am.
That's a crazy
I
shift,
know,
though.
I know.
I've had 90 to 97 Korean and then 10 to 3% Japanese, but to go from 60 to high 90s is
Yeah.
Hey, I had 1/8 pit bull, which is very weird, right? Like at one time years ago, a pit bull, and I don't know.
Yeah, that tracks.
Right? Exactly. All right, so Brandy, I gotta hear you have a friend who was adopted, but you don't want to give her name,
Oh,
so
I
we're gonna call
understand.
her Beatrice.
Okay, sure.
Okay?
Sure. So Beatrice actually grew up with her adopted parents, and somewhere when she turned in the age of 50, I think, right?
Yep, in her 50s, you
she
said.
decided to search for her biological parents. She found the woman. It was very easy. Apparently, the adoption records in the U.S. were open. She got her birth certificate. She tracked them down. Turns out that her entire life, her biological parents had lived 5 miles from her. When she had moved to another city, they had happened to move to the same other city.
Oh.
So now she's in her 60s. Her biological mother and her biological mother and her adopted mother are friends and get together for coffee once a week.
oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a nice story. We're trying to get them on our
And
podcast.
turns out there's one other layer to this story. The woman who gave my friend Beatrice up for adoption was no longer, got married, was no longer able to have any biological children, and she ended up adopting 2 children. So it's like the whole thing.
Hey, so let's wrap with one question for each of you, and that is, if you gave any advice to someone who was like 11, a girl, a boy, adopted in your situation, what have you learned that you wish you could tell them, if anything? I should have warned you of this question before we started.
I like this question. I think my advice would be to truly and genuinely embrace who you are today. You've been given, however you view it, I view it as an opportunity to be raised with a loving family that wants what is the best for you. And while you can have those feelings of maybe being a little misplaced or wanting a little bit more, really take in what's around you and what you are capable of doing right now and run with it. And then as you get older, you can start to explore some of those other options.
That's nice advice. What about you, Katie?
So, I don't know any young 11-year-old.
Yeah, but
So
what if
I
you
guess
run into
more
one?
so
You might
what I
be
would
leaving
tell-
here today, and you might drive out of my driveway and see an 11-year-old girl
I guess
adopted
so.
from Korea
I
who
guess
grew up
so.
here at 6 months. You might see her.
I can only talk to them. I guess what I would tell
But she goes by
myself,
by
like
Catherine, not
what I
Katie.
would tell myself at 11 is that the world is so big and that, your world will expand and change, and there's so many things worth living for and experiencing, and whatever you're struggling with now, it really does. When you get perspective on what life is, truly, like your problems, they seem so big, but they really can be so small.
And maybe we could give that same advice to every 11-year-old,
Exactly.
right? Because you're so right.
Exactly.
Things that seem like mountains to us are trivial when you look back, right? And they're actually useful and valuable, you know? All right, well, Andrew, Katie, thank you. We appreciate you joining us. Brandy, anything else?
No, we're good.
All right, that's a wrap. Okay.